Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to do a toolbox tour of my new US General Series 3 56-inch tool chest. So here it is. This is the US General 56-inch tool chest top and bottom. This is the Series 3. So this is Harbor Freight's brand US General, and this is the third iteration of their tool chest series. I had, I believe, a Series 1, and it was only a 44-inch wide. I outgrew that one. I've had that one for a while. Series 1 hasn't been available for a while. I probably had that one for, I don't know, 10 years or so. So we're just going to do a toolbox tour. I'm going to show you all my tools, show you how it's organized, and give you a little quick glimpse at my garage again. Really quickly. So I did used to have this pretty full of tools. So now they're pretty bare bones. This used to be full, this used to be full, this used to be all my Milwaukee power tools. So now these are empty. I was able to move everything over to the 56-inch. So we'll get into that quickly right now. I still have some overflow in here, belt sander, OBD scanner, and some other things, some wheel bearing tools, coolant fill tool, and some extra odds and ends that don't look very organized right now because I'm still trying to figure out where I want everything. But let's quickly get into the toolbox. So again, this is a Series 3. It just came out. I received it in December of 2023. And this is the black on black. I really love the way this thing looks. They offer it in a bunch of different colors. White, green, orange, etc. Red, blue. The blue is super nice. I really would have preferred the blue, except that blue wouldn't have gone with anything in my garage. I wanted to match my cabinets. And I do want to somehow get rid of the silver on these cabinets. So I might wrap those handles in gloss black or something. But I'm really happy with how it looks. It's really massive, actually. So I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but let's zoom out. It goes with the lid up, it goes almost to the ceiling of my garage. This garage is not super high, maybe it's like 9 feet or so, but still it's pretty tall. I just want to quickly show you guys. The Series 3 has these blocks that run the length of the drawers that you gotta pull open in order to get them open. And it's kind of a pain because it's probably because it's new and it's not worn in yet, but you kind of have to shut it kind of hard in order to get them to lock. So it's pretty well documented. I did this on my red Series 1 also, but putting magnets in here. So you remove these and we're putting magnets, these guys right here. You can buy at Harbor Freight for $1 each. Stack 2 of them, sticking them on the back side right here. And now you don't have to use those stupid things, and you can just pull it open and it secures really nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead. I bought enough to put at least one on each. I think I bought enough for 2 on the socket drawer just to make sure it holds, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that to modify the cabinet. So getting into a little bit of the specs, it's a 56-inch wide, it's 22 inches deep, and it's about 88 inches tall. I don't remember the weight capacities. You have to just go online and search. But yeah, it's pretty massive. So I'm not a tall guy, so I actually have to get a step ladder to get on top. So let's just go from top to bottom. Essentially up top, again, since I'm not a very tall guy, I keep some stuff up here that I don't need to access very often. So I just have some pass-through sockets. I decided to keep some blow molded cases here as opposed to over there that I'm gonna use more often. So my pass-through wrenches, my pass-through sockets, my tap and die sets, my tire inflator, and just some car parts, some wrenches, Allen wrenches, my nitrile gloves. So we got 3 different thicknesses. Got my clock. That one is super useful. I just got this one nice and bright. I can see it whenever I just pop open the garage. I got a little camera and my charging station. So this charging extension is magnetic, and it's a US General brand also, and it's purchased separately, so just stuck it on the side. That way I can plug in my chargers. This chest does come with a built-in charging station right here, which I'll get into in a second, but I don't like to have stuff charging with the cabinet door closed, so just because I'm worried about batteries blowing up and stuff like that. So I don't even keep these plugged in. I plug them in when I want to use them, and I prefer to keep them on top. That way I can see if something's charging, because I just don't want to leave batteries on the charger indefinitely. Got my Harbor Freight flashlights there, some brake clean, and just some random tool organizer, tool holders, and some magnetic trays there. And if you're not familiar with pass-through socket sets, this is really crucial. I don't use this all the time, but it's really crucial to have when you really need it. So sometimes I would use this for like end links on sway bars, where if you're undoing the nut on the end link and the joint just spins in the housing of the end link, a lot of times they have an Allen head on the stud of the end link, and so you want to put like an Allen head through the socket and be able to put a socket on the nut. So the nut, the stud is facing out, and the nut is around the stud, and there's an Allen head in the stud. So you put a Allen head through the stud, and put this socket on first, and then put an Allen head to hold the stud in place, and then ratchet the nut off. So that's what I mainly use pass-through for, and it's basically critical in those cases. Otherwise, you're not going to get the nut off of the end link. So these are always good to have in your arsenal. So coming on the side, I have a bunch of US General organizational stuff. So paper towel holder, so a couple of, this holds 2 cans. I got some just magnets with hooks from Amazon, holding my magnet fishing tools. Right here is a Night Buddy headlamp. I have 2 of them. These are pretty cool. Really bright, different modes. And then these don't match, but my wife gave me these from like her baby cart or something. I figured, hey, that's has a nice little hook on here. So it's really nice to have. I could hide this away and make it look cleaner, but I like having these out because this is like stuff that I use all the time. So this right here, my razor blades and my scissors, I use it all the time to open up packages and whatever. I have this here because I'm using this a lot right now. Pens, of course, these are crucial because these types of pens, at least I know the Sharpie is meant to write even on oily surfaces. I think the Milwaukee one does that too. I got here some flexible mirrors, which are always necessary. Some wheel chocks, these are super nice. They fold up. So you need these occasionally, right, to keep your car from rolling. But yeah, that's what I have on the side, and also some magnetic dishes also, and some telescoping magnets as well. But basically super critical stuff that I use quite often on the side and want a quick access to get to. Don't want to have to open up a drawer and get to these. But yeah, let's get into it. I know you guys want to see basically how it's organized, so I'm just gonna go top to bottom. The bread and butter is gonna be these 2 long drawers right here. I should mention the reason why I went with this cabinet. I was highly considering the Home Depot brand, but it held a lot less. The top drawers were a lot less deep, and I really like these 2 full width drawers here. So once you get into tools and you have a lot of long breaker bars and long tools like that, the long drawers are really nice. All right, getting into my top drawers. So again, I'm a little short. So the top drawers, I decided to put tools that I don't use very often. I put tools I use often in the middle area so that I'm not either having to reach high or bend down. My mostly used tools are in the middle area. So this is going to be just kind of overflow, extra ratchets, some standard sockets that I've never used before. I use metric. some overflow double sockets that have doubles of, some testing tools. And this drawer is kind of a catch-all for random things. I have tire depth gauges in here. I have some random pneumatic fittings. I have solder and rosin. I have like stud and installation tool here, which I don't really like. There's some there's a tap in here that I use for oil pan. And some tap holders here. So these are pretty cool. They will hold taps like these right here. So these will fit in here, and this is a 3/8, I think, or I can't remember, a 3/8 socket. You just stick it on a ratchet. I have, spark plug gapping tool, clutch alignment tools, and this one down here is a serpentine belt tool. That's pretty useful. Right here is a mechanic's stethoscope. That's always useful. So you can listen and see where knocking sounds are or ticking sounds or whatever. Have a bunch of jack stand attachments here. Jack attachment. So this is really useful. This is magnetic. There's two round things are magnets. Universal slot jack pads. So you put this on top of your jack saddle, and this is good for cars where it has a thin pinch weld. I use this on my wife's Lexus, just because they're not super reinforced like Honda pinch welds usually are. And speaking of that, I also use this on the Lexus as well. It's an adapter for your jack stands, to have, if your jack stand has this large rounded top side, adapts it to like a more pinch style, so just like that one, to so it doesn't mess up your pinch welds. And right here I have a Lexus oil filter wrench. Probably won't use this much anymore since the Lexus is gone. Okay, the next two, this is also kind of a little bit of a random drawer. I have like a seal removal tool, so this is nice if you want to remove like a rear main seal or something like that. I think this is made by Lyle. This is a tool for like ratcheting these types of things for like axles. Got some zip ties, some random stuff here. This is a clamping tool for like if you want to clamp like a rubber hose, like a coolant hose or anything like that. This is not made to cut. This is made to just pinch it off. And this drawer is all my torque wrenches, some pry bars, some tire irons. I have a spark plug extension here, spark plug tool here that, because it's T-shaped, I don't keep it with my other sockets. It's just, you'll see later, my socket wrench socket drawer is full. This is a 3/4 inch breaker bar with a 36-inch socket on it. This is for the NSX axles, front wheel bearing, I should say. And I can't remember if this is the same size as the rear axles. Also, it might be. But this is my only 3/4 inch beefy setup, so I keep the socket on here. And I don't use it all the time, so there's no need to crowd up my socket drawer with this. But I ended up with this because the 1/2 inch did not cut it. So torque wrenches, I have my brand new gear wrench, digital torque wrench. I'm kind of on the fence how I feel about that. So like I said, this is my first digital torque wrench. I opted for the angle flex head version. But there's a couple things I didn't consider when purchasing this. One is that I guess now this whole screen does not light up red. It only, there's like a little red LED on here. And what it does is it beeps and buzzes when you reach your set point. However, you cannot set it to only beep or buzz when you reach your exact torque spec. So let's say your torque spec is 100 foot-pounds. You can only set it to a percentage. So I think the highest is like 85%. So if your torque spec set target value is 100, it'll start beeping and buzzing at 85 foot-pounds, which is quite annoying. Whereas, a typical torque wrench click type, it's only going to click once you get to your desired number. So one of the things that I realize is that it makes it really dependent on me having to see the screen. So I'm torquing down wheels. I can't just torque it like I can on this and hear the click and know I'm done. I gotta torque it, and if it buzzes, I might not be at 100. I might be at like 85, and then if I do a little bit more, I might be at 90 only. If I do a little bit more, I might be only at 95. I have to physically look at the screen to see if I'm at my torque spec. That's pretty annoying. And again, it buzzes and beeps pretty loudly. So I'm kind of on the fence whether I like this or not. It does do angle too, so which of course my other torque wrenches do not do. So that's why I've been keeping this around, but it's a little bit, more annoying than I thought it would be. These torque wrenches are my trusty CDI torque wrenches. CDI is like a Snap-on company, I believe. So these have always been my go-to torque wrenches. My 3/8 inch right here goes from 5 to 75, and my 1/4 inch goes from 30 to 250, I believe. So between these two, I have a pretty wide range covered, and I've been able to take care of just about every thing on any of my Hondas. This one back here, I have it in the back because I don't really use it as often as I like. This is another one of those social media things that got me. It looked like a really cool tool at the time. It is kind of cool to keep in your car for emergencies, but it's a torque wrench and tire iron built in one. So tire iron meaning like a crossbar kind of thing. So you put this on here, and you can use it to break loose your lug nuts. And you can use it to torque your lug nuts. So there's two settings basically. You can put this handle on here, right here, and basically free spins. So you can remove your lug nuts or put them on, and then you move it up here, and then you can use it as a torque wrench. The downside, which I didn't foresee before I purchased this, is that there's no ratcheting action on this. So it's kind of annoying that you have to kind of put it on, turn it, take it off, put it on, turn it, take it off, in order to do any kind of real movement. So that's kind of the part that I don't like about this tool, and the reason why it kind of just sits at the back of my toolbox. So this is a cool little tool. This is an Acura branded torque wrench. Only one torque spec on it, 80 foot-pounds. Made for wheels. Have my pry tools here, so we're getting into tools that I start to use more and more. I use these little picks quite often. In this drawer I have my measuring caliper and a bunch of these cases that you'll find at Harbor Freight. Cotter pin assortment, spring assortment, heat shrink tubing, some vacuum caps. These are more useful than you would expect. Some terminals. So I haven't used this yet. This is brand new. But this is one of those solder seals. So you just melt the solder in the middle, put the wires from each side and melt the solder, and it has like a shrink tube and soldering action in one. So hopefully that works as advertised, but excited to use that one day. Some fuses, some riv nuts, got some cotter pins. These are the type that go on like your brake calipers or your pedals, things like that. These are very useful. Some T-taps, which I do not recommend. Those are pretty crappy T-taps. Some more rib nuts, some washers, some extended studs, and connectors and stuff like that over there. So now we're getting into two of the deeper drawers. These are the last two drawers of the top half of this cabinet. I have my hammers, my dead blows, my sledgehammer, regular carpenter's hammer, some rubber mallets, a bodywork hammer. So this is nice and useful if you want to hammer something flatter for bodywork wise. some impact screwdrivers here, and this I use a lot. This houses all my power tools. As you can see, I do keep the batteries separately. You shouldn't typically, it's not recommended to store your tools with the battery on the tool. I do keep the ones on my snap-ons, as kind of hypocritical as that is, just because I'm lazy to take those off. But anyway, I have some roll-lock discs here. These are useful, go on work with one of my favorite tools, which is the angle die grinder. So only 2 of these tools are Snap-on, the other are Milwaukee. And basically, this is Snap-on, this is Snap-on. But Milwaukee just makes a good tool. If you're not familiar with this stubby, this is super powerful. I love this guy. But I keep this one around because of the nice rocker, forward and backward rocker switch, instead of the switch having to press the switch back and forth. So it's nice to have this. This is not very powerful, but again, I just love the rocker. Most people keep it for that reason. This is my favorite tool right here. This is the angle die grinder. I do have the straight version die grinder as well, but I use these carbide bits with this tool very often. Again, these carbide bits, these are just some I bought off Amazon, but they eat through aluminum no problem. Steel is pretty easy as well. Drill, impact drivers, and various other tools here. Again, here's my roll-locks for use with the die grinders. I got my spot weld bits and random stuff here. Tire pressure. I have my deburring tool. So this deburrs if you cut like a piece of round stock or something like that. You run this around the inside and outside and take off all the burrs. And just my bits and drills, things like that there. All right, so the next 2 are the 2 top drawers on the lower cabinet. And these are one of the biggest selling points of this setup is these are full width, 56-inch. I mean, well, it's a little bit shorter than 56-inch, but they're full width, two drawers. And my first one is, of course, my sockets. So here I spend a lot of time organizing these and getting rid of stuff I don't need, but essentially I have a setup where my 3/8 is on the right side, 1/4 inch is in the middle, and 1/2 is on the left. So meaning 3/8 extensions are right here, 3/8 ratchets, and anything to hold 3/8 sockets are right here. These are Harbor Freight holders, and these red guys are Westling. So these, I just got these in. These are, well, I've had some of them already for years, so I know I really like them, but I was waiting for more to come in so I can put all the rest of my sockets in. Just got them this week. I really, really love these. These are non-magnetic, but if you look at any reviews on YouTube, a lot of people love these. This is what got, YouTube reviews is what got me on these. These are not meant for mobile. So again, these are non-magnetic. So you can't just, pick up these up and throw it in your tool bag if you're mobile. So they're meant for stationary toolboxes only, but they basically hold the sockets really nicely. So let me see if I can do this. So you can hold it at an angle. Let me shake these. It actually holds them really pretty well. But it's not magnetic, so you can just pull them off like this. Very easy. I really, really love these. Super high quality aluminum. You can get them in a bunch of different colors. The only downside is, 2 downsides are the cost and the fact that they're not super customizable. So you can get them with the numbers, as you can see here. But you cannot customize which numbers you put on there. So he offers them in like a couple of different configurations as far as numbers goes, or without numbers, like you can see here. You may want them without numbers. Like for me, I knew that this is a newly ordered one right here. I knew I was gonna put a bunch of random Torx and Allen sockets and inverted Torx back here that I didn't want any numbers on. So I ordered one without numbers. But then up here, you know, I knew I wanted to put my sockets with numbers here. I wanted it legible. I knew that I didn't have sockets with the numbers that are kind of worn. So, you know, I wanted the holder to have the numbers on them. So again, I really love these. So up front, I have my non-impact six point sockets. Of course, all the black are impact. So I decided to put my short sockets in the front and my deep sockets in the back, so that's not blocking. Before I had all my impact sockets together, but then, you know, if I had some deep in front of some short, then I wouldn't be able to see the short and it would block the numbers. As you can see here, you can't see the numbers for the back ones here. So I decided to keep the deep sockets together. Of course, these are 12 points right here, and the stuff that I rarely use in the back. So again, these are in the back. These ones I mainly use here. Moving over, we're into the 1/4 inch. So same setup for all 3 sizes. I have 1/4 inch extensions here and the 1/4 inch ratchets here. I do really like the gear wrench ratchets. And the ones with the black and red, those are Pittsburgh Harbor Freight brand. I do have a gear wrench ratchet in 3/8 and 1/4. This is really nice, but it's a little long. I need to get a 3/8 gear wrench that's a little bit shorter than this one. I do use this ratchet most often. That's Pittsburgh ratchet, just because of the size. But this, in terms of the 1/4 inch, I really love this one. This is perfect size. I love that it's flexible and it has nice, strong detents. So this is my favorite 1/4 inch ratchet. And here are my 1/4 inch sockets. I have some Torx, some Flex, and my standard 6-point short and deep well sockets and extensions on the side. Here, I don't have any best way to hold my crow's feet, so I kind of just decided to put them on some rings. The way I organized these was I put my uncommon sizes, like 15s, 13s, 11s, on a ring right here, and separately from my commonly used sizes, which are like my 8s, 10s, 14s, 12s. Well, this is not one that, but this is it right here. These are more common sizes, I think. So that way, like, I have quick access to them, and it's kind of not really easy. They do make holders for crow's foot wrenches, but I kind of like this way, just because I can grab and easily grab which one by unclicking this ring. But maybe one day I'll get a holder, we'll see. So starting from here and all on the left side are my 1/2 inch size sockets. So back here, again, these are just some large size sockets. I got a 30 here, all the way up to a couple of 36s, I believe. So these are failed, basically. These two are 36 and 1/2 inch, which were for my axle wheel bearing hubs, NSX, and those didn't work out. That's why I have that 3/4 inch. And this is a weighted socket that I use for 19 millimeter. This is good for like your crank pulley bolt, getting that off. This works out really nicely. Again, it's weighted, it's very heavy. It gets it off really nicely. The weight helps take off the bolt. Got some random adapters here, some 12 points back here, some large sockets again, so stuff that I rarely use in the back. Some Allen head sockets back there, and all my impacts here. I have my 1/2 inch Tecton. I should mention that these are Tecton. Same with my 3/8. I really love these Tecton sockets. They have worked really nice and served me very well. I've never broken one, and they have nice legible numbers on them. These, brand new, I just got these. These are Quinn, this Harbor Freight brand. These are low profile 6-point impact sockets. And what's cool about these, besides the fact that they're low profile, so these are, it's hard to see, but they're quite a bit shorter than the regular sockets, even shorter than my 3/8. And the back right here, you notice that there's 6-pointed sides. You can stick a wrench on the back, and unfortunately it only fits a 22mm wrench, which is a rather large wrench. So I might look for like a smaller 22mm box wrench that I can use on these in a pinch. So you can slide it on here, and it'll be super low profile. You don't have to put a ratchet on these. So these are really cool, and they do not skip. So it goes all the way from 24 all the way down to 10. So again, low profile impact 1/2-inch drive. Got my 12 points here, and of course my extensions, where I just realized that I haven't flip-flopped. So I need to flip-flop these, put my extensions in the front and my ratchets up here. And most of these are, again, Harbor Freight brand, Pittsburgh, served me well. No problems there. This is for the NSX specifically. This is a crank pulley holder. It's a different size than the typical Honda one. So if you watch my video where I removed the crank pulley on my NSX, I've always had this one for like B series. Honda, the NSX is a different size. So this is the only tool I could find that on the market for the NSX. So that's useful to have. Also have my breaker bars here, 3/4, 3/8, 1/4. I have a O2 sensor socket. I don't use this too often. I've found that, it's open on the sides here, so you can slide it in over the O2 sensor wires. But I found when you have a really stuck on O2, because it's open, it tends to slip. So most of our O2 sensors for Hondas are 22mm. So I do end up mostly using a large wrench to get the O2 sensors off. So I also have this tool for spark plugs, but this tool is where the socket is stuck on here and pivoted on the extension. It's too long for the front bank of the NSX, where the head is really close to the firewall. So I did purchase these locking extensions where I can put my spark plug socket on here and lock it in and not have the socket get stuck on the spark plug in the spark plug well. So next are my wrenches, and I really love these new organizers here. These are made by Ernst, and you'll see that Tecton also makes a version of these. I think Ernst was first because Ernst have a magnet on the bottom. Let me show you the box. So here's Ernst, here's the box. They come in pieces like this. And so you can see 6 single tab, 12 triple tab, and 128 ID labels. But yeah, they have a magnet on the bottom right there, whereas the Tecton do not have a magnet. So I feel like the Tecton, and the Tectons do have that round spot for the magnet, they just don't include a magnet. So I feel like the Tecton's probably a ripoff of the Ernst. But these are super nice. You don't necessarily need the magnet since the weight's usually going to hold it down. But I love how modular they are, and I haven't labeled them yet. I have my labels right here. I haven't labeled them yet because I haven't solidified if this is my final placement or not. But essentially I have, these are all the Ernst, of course. It's nice to be able to separate them all, make it go from front to back pretty solidly. Whereas, if you're using this kind, there's not enough room for 2 of these front to back, right? So there's some wasted space here. These make really nice use of your space. So let's get into the tools. I have ratcheting flex head here, ratcheting flex head. This is ratcheting, but angled head. I don't know what you call this, but that's always useful. All of these are very, very useful. I have these guys, which I use super often. Again, the ones that I use more often are kind of in the middle. Offset, very useful to have offset. Stubbies, always useful to have stubbies. These are like ratcheting line wrenches, so like a flare nut wrench, but ratcheting version. So these were very useful, like on my ABS upgrade video that I did. So you don't have to keep taking off if you're using a regular flare nut wrench. Keep taking it off, turning it, take it off, turning it. You can use the ratcheting version here with the flex head. So here's my other line wrenches, some thin wrenches. These are useful if you ever needed a tight spot, get into a tight spot. These are super, super useful to have. I actually use these like on the bottom of my cabinet feet. It's really hard to get to the nut on there with all these thin wrenches. I've actually even had to thin out a wrench. Where is it? Right here. I had to grind down this wrench thinner. This was used for, I believe, my Integra, either brake master cylinder or clutch master cylinder. On the inside, there's a nut on the right above the pedals that I needed like a thin head for, so I ended up grinding that down. That was before I owned thin wrenches. Here are some other ratcheting wrenches. So these are nice because they're reversible. None of my other ratcheting wrenches, either line wrenches or any of these, they're not reversible. So if you've ever been in a situation where you are tightening something or loosening something and then you get stuck and you can't reverse it because there's not enough space to get your wrench out, that's where you need these. Only those people know that getting scared of almost getting your tool stuck in a tight spot, that's why you gotta have these. And these wrenches are organized a little weird. There's a bunch of different brands here, and I decided to organize them by size, meaning like a bunch of these are 10s, a bunch of these are 12s, a bunch of these are 14s, just different brands, just because like this is a 14, this is a 14, different brand. Just because that's how I like to grab my tools. Sometimes I want to have grab a 14, or I need multiple 14s, and I just want them right next to each other. Here's some larger sizes, some 17s. Again, different brands here. And these are my favorite. These are box wrenches. One side's ratcheting, one side's straight and offset. I mean, the whole thing's straight, but it's a little bit offset. And these are really nice for getting leverage. Like if you're doing exhaust manifold nuts and you want to get that extra leverage. I really, really love these. I've been wanting to get these for a long time, and I've used these quite a bit since I've gotten them. And then these right here are just some big boys. Some 21, 24, 25, 27 millimeter. Sometimes you need those. So again, I'm super happy with these Ernst organizers. They're magnetic, so they don't move. I mean, this whole drawer is really nice. I'm gonna have to order more for these probably and replace those. I actually like these holders. It's just that, you know, obviously, again, they're not modular and kind of wasted space, so you can only fit a certain amount. But these holders do work very nicely. And again, these holders are from Harbor Freight, and this is Ernst. Next two drawers. Here is all my pliers. So typically a lot of people use like a deeper drawer for pliers, and they buy those organizers and hold them up like this, those organizers that hold them up like that. But you need to use a deeper drawer, like I said, and I didn't want to use a deeper drawer and waste it on pliers. Yeah, I could compact these a little bit more, but I want to use my deeper drawers for more useful stuff like my power tools and my hammers. So this is my plier drawer. pliers, wire strippers, vice grips, various coilover tools here, snap ring pliers here. Further in this drawer, I do prefer these to take off my oil filters. I just always find that they have the widest range of opening for getting off different size filters. I've used a bunch of different kinds, and a lot of them have a really limited range in what size oil filters they accept. This guy right here is useful for removing hose clamps. So you squeeze this right here, look at the end. So this will remove your hose clamp, and it's flexible. So I really found use for this with the Honda S2000. So the S2000 has a coolant hose, one of the large coolant hose that sits underneath the intake manifold, kind of close, all the way tucked up behind the firewall. It's hard to get to. So this kind of tool is super nice to be able to get up underneath the intake manifold and be able to just clamp it shut. And this allows you to hold it shut, and you can just use your other hands to remove the clamp while not having to expend any kind of energy to hold the clamp itself shut. This is a really nice tool and very useful. This I mentioned earlier, this is the built-in power station. So there's some USBs here, there's some plugs here, but again, I don't use this. It does have power. I did plug it in just in case I need to use it one day or sometime in emergency, but I do prefer to use this one again because I don't necessarily want to just plug like a charger in here and just close it and then just leave it. It's a fire hazard and not something that I want to do all the time. So I do keep my social media gear in here, my GoPro, all these kind of gimbals and things like that in here. So next, I have my screwdrivers. These holders are from Harbor Freight as well. I have my long pry tools, interior pry tools, and other interior pry tools, some files, some punches, screwdrivers, and so this is one of the drawers that I had to basically tone down for the first time in my life. I got rid of screwdrivers, so I got rid of about half of what I owned, and this is probably still more than I need, but that's just how it works when you inherit and buy tools over decades. Some stubby screwdrivers, some small screwdrivers, some Allen wrenches, some more files, some more Allen wrenches. This drawer is kind of a catch-all for a bunch of OEM parts and stuff in here. So I have some washers for like oil changes and things like that, diff changes, this bunch of these for S2000, some of these for NSX, some spark plugs, just some random OEM stuff, right? So got some gasket. These are really cool. These are for like lip, like when you're mounting a lip spoiler on your Hondas, they all have these plastic rubber moldings to keep from scratching your bumper. So this is what that's for. Bulbs, some fuses. I have these guys, right? You always need these. These are for your pedals. These break off all the time in old Hondas. When you press your brake and it hits the switch that turns off your brake lights, actually, these things break. People wonder like, oh, my turn off my car, my brake lights stay on. That's because this thing probably broke off and the switch isn't being pressed anymore. So it's to tell you that you need to replace this. The car is telling you that. So it's always good to have some of those kept in my car. Input shaft for my NSX. I want to cut that off and make a nicer clutch alignment tool. Some plastic push pins, some rubber mounts for exhaust systems there. And further in this drawer, so I also have some older axle nuts that I keep around. Some of these valve cover grommets, brand new. You'll be familiar with those for like various Hondas. Bunch of hose clamps here for radiator coolant hoses. Those are always good to have. Bunch of exhaust gaskets here. These are always useful to have. You never know when you're gonna need one of these sizes. So a bunch of these are used just because I keep them around after I replace them. Some large suspension bolts and subframe bolts. Never know when you're gonna need those. This is basically just OEM-ish items that I like to keep around for various reasons. And the bottom is, again, these are least used items, so I don't have to keep bending down for stuff. This is my basically a junk drawer. Gloves, heat gun, hair dryer, things like that. Safety wire back there, that's useful at times. Random scraps of metal, wood blocks. Also I have saws in here. I have this guy, which I used to at one point to put in like a rear main seal, I believe. Just PVC piping. I have bearing removers. I have, this is a spring compressor. I have this guy that I used recently for the NSX. Ball joint tool, but just a different shape. Different shape than that one right there. Extra chargers here. More hose clamps. So these hose clamps are for, if you're not familiar with these are meant for silicone hoses. So they don't have your typical holes in here. So it's completely smooth on the inside. And they're meant for silicone, so it doesn't eat into the silicone when you tighten them up. So this is kind of like what Samco recommends you use for their hoses. Always good to have those. Some rivets here, and just a bunch of other junk, some twine, some string if you need to, some fishing line right there. If you need to remove some emblems, some coat hangers, you need to fish through some wires through the firewall, bunch of random stuff in here. And last but not least are some taller items, because this is one of the taller drawers, probably the tallest drawer in the whole cabinet. So I have my riv nut gun, my brake tools, my brake caliper tool here, grinder, my gigantic impact, and some ball joint separator here. So again, these are kind of the more often used ones. And this is a critical tool. I have a video on my channel about using these on the Lexus. So these are brake pad piston spreaders. These will be used for when you have like a big brake type caliper, like a monoblock or a twin block, where it has pistons, at least a 4-pot pistons on both sides, and you need to equally pull the pistons out on both sides. So you close this up and just ratchet this, and it'll pull the pistons out on both sides. So if you're not familiar with pistons on being on both sides, if you were to just push in one side piston, then the fluid will circulate and push out the other side of the piston. So you'll just be going left to right, left, right. With this, you'll push the pistons out equally on both sides. So very crucial to have that. So on the right side, I have my thread checker here, some safety glasses, my kneeling pad, and that about does it for this toolbox tour. Basically, my tools have all been cultivated over the years, mainly to work on Hondas. So everything's metric, and basically anything that you need to work on a Honda, I have here. So yeah, that'll do it for this toolbox tour. I wanted to make it a little bit short and sweet. So let me know if you have any questions or want to know anything that I have in my toolbox, whether it's an organizer or tool. But that's about it for this video. Again, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.